Teacups and pinkies up. It's GameDev tea time.
Roar.
So this is going to be our second GameDev tea time. This week we're going to be talking about what it's like to put a game up on KickStarter, because last week we actually finished our Midli KickStarter campaign and we got successfully funded and even hit our first stretch goal. So we kind of just want to talk about what it was like preparing for that, what it was like actually being live with the campaign, and how it feels to finally be done with it all.
I think that like honestly the Kickstarter campaign itself, it's been such a roller coaster.
Yep.
A bit of a ride with a lot of ups and downs. We'd never been on Kickstarter before, so this was all new to us, both in terms of setting it up and just running it. And it's one of those things that I think you can easily assume there won't be that much work. You know, you get a bit of text, you maybe make a couple of custom assets, put some screenshots from your game and make some rewards and you're done.
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah,
I think it actually ended up taking us 2 months just to prepare the whole campaign. And luckily we managed to do it all ourselves because we have quite a broad skill set. But I definitely understand that some people need to hire in experts, because some of the stuff you need to think about when preparing for your campaign is, obviously you need your video, so you need to know how to shoot and edit a video, as well as being able to talk in front of the camera is really important, because people will connect more with your story and your campaign if they can see who's actually behind it.
Unfortunately, video again was something Louise has a lot of experience with, so that was something we could do. I found the writing was something where we have so much to say about our project, but you can't be writing too much. You need to make that short and interesting. It's also very hard to balance what you can say without spoiling something of the game or giving away too much, but you also don't want to give away too little.
That was especially hard for Midli because it's a game with so many secrets.
Yeah.
And kind of a lot of subtext. And
the plot is a bit like of a mystery as well, and we'd like to keep it like that as much as we can.
We also we want people to play it for the first time and enjoy the gaming experience and be curious about what's actually going on. So if you just laid it all out there on the Kickstarter, it probably wouldn't be so great for people who actually want to buy the game.
Yeah. One of the other things was in terms of all the getting like assets up there, both the custom ones like the banners, but also showing off our game in the different ways. Louise had to figure out how to do GIFs.
Yeah, I'd never made a GIF before, and I don't know if I did them very well.
To make those, we actually had to make some demo clips, which is quite hard when the game is in pre-alpha. There's a lot of bugs and things that don't run as smoothly as you'd want.
Definitely.
And we took those clips straight out from the Unity player, from the editor, so it was difficult to put it all together.
Yeah.
But I think we managed to show something off.
One of the other things that is really interesting about Kickstarter is that even though you're on there because you need funding to make your game, you kind of have to have your game at a certain place. So to some extent you'll need to self-fund the development of your game up to a point that you can show it off, because people will very rarely back something that doesn't show off a bit of gameplay. They want to be confident in trusting you to create this project, and if all you can show are a couple of screenshots that are just conceptual, sometimes it's unlikely that you're going to get funded. And I think it also helps because we want to put out this game fairly soon after our Kickstarter has ended. So if we were just starting development now, we couldn't say, yeah, we'll release it in 2-3 months. That just wouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
So in some ways it's given us that push to properly be able to deliver on time. Another thing that we had to think a lot about before going live is that you need to kind of count on a certain number of backers giving you that initial boost. So you need to make sure that you have a bit of a social media following, maybe try reaching out to press to get some early interest. If nothing else, try to contact friends and family and see if they'll be willing to support you. Because the first couple of days on Kickstarter is super duper important. Luckily, we got the Projects We Love badge from Kickstarter, I think, within an hour or something of our project.
Yeah, we got
out.
that more or less right away.
And that definitely helped to get some traffic onto our page, but we had already been talking to our followers on Twitter and Facebook, our friends and family, because there's algorithms going on in the background of Kickstarter, and it's gonna tell Kickstarter this is a project that people are interested in, we'll put it on the front page, and that's gonna give you that first big boost. So I think in the first 48 hours, we hit something like 30% of our funding.
Yeah, and we actually, I think we're even a bit further than that. We're almost at 40%. Obviously, like, our social media following wasn't even that huge. But, you know, we interact a lot with our followers, so we knew that there was something going there.
That kind of leads into one of the things that was a bit difficult about actually being live on Kickstarter, which was that it was definitely a bit of an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like we say, our first 48 hours were great. Our first 5 days, for that matter, were really good. Each day we were getting well over £100 funding. Like,
after 5 full days, we were, I think, £170 away from 50%.
Which is really, really good for a Kickstarter campaign of our size. But then suddenly, the second week came in, and
it slowed down so dramatically.
I think that Monday, we got literally £1 funded that whole entire day. And that was just such a blow. After being on such a high, we were buzzing. We were like, oh my god, this is so exciting. Checking our phones all the time to see when we got new backers. And then suddenly week 2, we just
dried up for a couple of days.
It was
Actually, terrible. I think it took 8 days before we hit that 50% that we were so close to after 5 days. We've since looked into this a bit more. It's apparently quite common for kind of week 2 and even week 3 to be quite slow. There might be a couple of spikes here and there. We had that as well towards the end of week 3 where there was a bit of a spike.
And so in that second week, we started thinking, are we not going to be able to do this? Is it not going to be possible to develop it? What are we going to do? Trying to come up with new tactics of like mid-campaign tiers or add-ons, things like that. Luckily, like I say, that's actually to be expected. So if you are thinking of going on Kickstarter, I think...
Don't be discouraged if that happens.
Protect yourself in terms of having your expectations quite realistic. So one of the things that can kind of combat these types of slumps is having your social media campaign really prepped to begin with. Just plan out all of the posts that you're going to be making throughout. And obviously these things can change. They definitely did for us. But having a good solid plan and a lot of posts to engage people, use the right types of hashtags so people can find your project, like hashtag GameDev or Indie Dev Hour. I think that's really important. And like I said, reaching out to press is really important. A lot of the time they're not going to want to write about a Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, Kickstarters aren't like the big news that it once was. Nobody's going to necessarily write about you just because it's a game on Kickstarter.
Yeah. You need to really find your niche and make a really good press kit for them with lots of pictures, all the information about your game, the pricing, when it's going to be released, etc. That's definitely going to help you, but we noticed that contacting press was a struggle, even though we got a positive response in terms of they were really helpful with tips and stuff. It's just they said, come back to us when you have a demo. Yeah. And that's definitely one of the things that...
And I think as well that general press, they might rather be looking at why is your game interesting, not the Kickstarter. But there are actually a lot of places that are set up now for crowdfunding campaigns for indie games, and that's more niche but relevant. So Indie Game Launchpad was a place that, you can put up a page for your game. They'll retweet it and share it, and they've got quite a lot of followers. But I think just put yourself on as many of these relevant pages as possible.
It's also important to be really open to the idea that your selling point might change during your campaign. And that is also related to press and kind of your niche and angle when you want them to write about you. For example, one of the things that we thought Midli was going to sell on was the fact that it was a retro game style, which is Breakout or Arkanoid, with a modern twist. And interestingly, that there were people who commented on that and said, oh, I've never seen an Arkanoid game with a story or with choices and stuff like that. But one of the things from our Kickstarter video was that I mentioned that one of our inspirations was that I have anxiety and like listening to a lot of those relaxing sounds on anti-anxiety apps. And that was something that people, that really resonated with people. So in some ways that became, I don't want to necessarily say our selling point, but a really good way to connect with players. Yeah. And definitely became a large focus of our campaign.
I mean, it's more or less the thing we've gotten the most good feedback on.
That people as well connecting as the art.
With. And the art, yeah. I guess the aesthetic in general, the use of sounds, the art.
So internally, we had always thought that we really wanted the sound to be an important element of Midli, But like I say, it wasn't our selling point. We thought like the thing that's going to resonate with most people is that it's a retro style game, like the game type.
And maybe a little bit the fact that, you know, we're bringing a bit of story into that, like that was our twist, right? But it's
definitely changed a bit, and I think it's all about listening to your backers and your followers, and just seeing what is it that they like about this and trying to put a focus on that.
And that's actually an interesting thing as well, because you're going to be getting a lot of messages. Every person, you know, who backs you, not necessarily everyone who backs you will be getting in touch, but a lot of them will. But also on social media, you're getting a lot of people who might retweet or dislike, people who might comment and ask you questions. And I think it's very important to, you know, both take the time to read through all of that and to answer and try to, you know, interact and communicate as much as you can, because ultimately these are the people who are making this happen. But there's also a lot of valuable stuff in there. It's basically free market research.
Another thing that was I think really good for our campaign was something that a representative of Kickstarter actually recommended us to do, which was to have a live stream. So when you live stream, it comes up on their front page, and it's a really good way to attract people who haven't seen you yet. And we were really nervous.
Yeah.
We actually had our first GameDev tea time as a live stream. We just thought it would be kind of a funny thing, and then it turned into now a YouTube series.
Yeah, it was something we quite liked doing. I was quite nervous about it. I'm not necessarily that great in front of the camera, as I'm sure you can tell from both this and everything else we've done. She's a lot better, but I was nervous, especially about the fact that it was live. I can easily start rambling or bumbling a bit.
And also, like, we were a bit worried about, will people actually watch? Like, will they be interested in hearing us talk about stuff? Will they have questions for us? But it went really well. We didn't have like 1,000 people watching. We got something like 50, and a lot of good questions, and people seemed to actually be interested in the game. And one of the best things is that we actually got a couple of backers because they found our live stream just like by chance and decided that this was something interesting we were talking about.
One of the other things that I think is like a huge part of the experience of doing the Kickstarter, we were talking about the ups and downs, but once you start getting to the end, we were quite lucky. We hit our funding goal 10 days before it was over. We got a couple of larger backers in as well, pledging at our higher tiers. Thanks to those again.
Which, just so it's said, like, it is so important to have those larger tiers in some ways. I often go on Kickstarter campaigns and I'm like, would someone really be willing to pledge upwards of £1,000? Our tier was at 500. But at the same time, it's one of the unique things about Kickstarter is that you can have these really interesting rewards that you wouldn't be able to get anywhere else. Like for us, it was that you could help us design a Forgotten Shadow. And like, you can't really, in some ways, put a price on that. You're like immortalizing your creative vision in a game. I think it's cool how you have these unique things going on Kickstarter. So it's always important to at least have like one tier that's kind of special. You never know if you'll get lucky and someone will actually want to.
Yeah, I think leave yourself open to the idea that someone might find that connection with your game and reach out. And you know, for us, it was a good experience. You know, people who reached out and we probably got to talk to them and stuff. And I think that that's something that it's both good for your Kickstarter. It also, for us, was something that was definitely one of the higher points. Again, especially not just seeing the Kickstarter, you know, the graph go up, but, you know, hearing someone believing in us to that level feels amazing.
So now that our campaign is over and we know that we've gotten funded, a lot of people are asking us, like, what's next? And for us, it's actually really nice to get back into normal development. Like, we're game devs. We don't really want to be campaigning day in and day out. We want to be making games. I want to be making assets.
I want to be doing the coding and development.
Exactly.
Never thought I'd say that, but yeah, I really do. I want to get back into Unity. I think you never expect that the Kickstarter is going to take up so much of your time.
It really does.
But we were not able to do as much development as we'd sort of thought we'd be doing during the campaign.
We knew it would be less than normal, but it was considerably less than normal. That being said, we're still on track with delivering the game, and that's one of the things that's the most important to us right now, because Kickstarter has a pretty bad rep with some games just never delivering or not delivering on time. And we really wanted to not become a part of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's super important for us that we can deliver Midli on time. We said it's going to come out around November. That's definitely doable.
Yeah.
And also because we want to go back on Kickstarter again in the future. We have another game that's in early development now, and we're hoping to bring that to Kickstarter probably sometime next year. And it's kind of about, like, we want to show our backers that they can believe in us, not only for Midli, but also for our future projects. So all in all, even with the ups and downs, Kickstarter has definitely been a super positive thing for us. Not only because it helped us get funded and even get funded above what we wanted, it also helped us with our social media following. We almost doubled, I think, on all of our different social media accounts in terms of followers. It helped us to get a lot more connected with you guys, the players, which is really amazing.
It's something we care a lot about as well.
Definitely.
Being, someone being connected with you.
So if you're thinking about putting your game on Kickstarter, we definitely recommend it. It's a lot of work. Just like know that it's gonna be a lot of preparation. The campaign is gonna take a lot, but like we definitely think it's worth it. Not only for the money, but for all of the other additional benefits.
It's
that you
helped
get.
us focus our game, and it's definitely helped us focus and give us that drive to push forward with it.
Yep. So I think that's going to be it for this Game Dev Tea Time. We hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to be trying to post a couple of these every once in a while. So honestly, let us know what types of things you find interesting about game development, and we'll take that into consideration next time we have tea. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you next time.